Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about sleep and how exciting this is because all things have a circadian rhythm, right? All living things, animals, humans, the fungus among us, all of those things. And this is the master clock that says it's time to eat or it's time to sleep. It is the light and the dark clock that God instilled into us to rest when it is dark in order to recharge our batteries. And so when we go against that biologically innate schedule, our body becomes confused. In fact, our sleep is so important that in 2017, the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine was awarded to 3 US biologists for their discovery of master genes that control your body's circadian rhythms. Pretty amazing, right? So let's look at the circadian rhythms. This is what they found out. They found out that while the master clock in our brains synchronize our bodily functions to the 24-hour light and dark cycle, each organ has its own biological clock. And that over time, lack of sleep can contribute to a whole host of chronic health problems, right? This is what we do not want to have happen. So that reducing your sleep by a single hour per night increases the expression of genes associated with inflammation, immune excitability, diabetes, cancer risk, and stress. So who needs more stress or any of those genes clicked on, right? Not I. So there's a clock in every single cell of our bodies. So super amazing the way God created our bodies to do all of these things, right? Every cell has a clock. I'm a little addicted to clocks. I have a lot of clocks in my home because I like that. I like time and I like to hear things chiming and all the things. But when I think about every single cell in the body has a clock, it is amazing. The heart has a clock, the liver has a clock, the pancreas has a clock, the kidneys have 2 clocks. So when everyone is in symphony, that is great. And it sounds and works amazing. But if we are regularly skimping on our sleep, it is a guaranteed way to mess up our circadian clock. And this in turn can contribute to a whole host of chronic health problems, as well as raise your risk of accidents and occupational errors. All right. So when we think about this, how much sleep do we get? A third of our life is spent in sleep. A third of people are sleep deprived and carry a sleep debt, which has to be returned somehow or we pay the price. We get a minimum of 90 minutes less sleep per night than our ancestors did 100 years ago. Industrialization, electric lights, jet travel, shift work, like we don't go to sleep when the sun goes down or get up when it comes up anymore, right? So super frustrating to me, right? I mean, it sounds like a good life to go to sleep when it's dark outside and get up when it's light. But there are so many studies that show a correlation between sleep deprivation, and see if this sounds like maybe you or someone you know, right? So where do you start with things? It's not just about applying things and smelling things and all of those things. It's like, okay, if I have some of these symptoms going on, maybe let's just address sleep. Let's go to bed 30, 60 minutes earlier each night. So listen to some of these things. Correlation between sleep deprivation and anger, frustration with life, fatigue, irritability, weight gain, anxiousness, handling of stress, memory problems, weakened immune system, increased pain responses, and increased inflammatory responses, which are linked to a whole host of disease processes. So these effects of sleep deprivation, right? Health, it's a known fact that health will deteriorate with sleep deprivation. We're told that we need 8 hours of sleep, and that's 3 hours of shallow sleep, 3 deep, and 2 dreaming. And we require that deep sleep, that REM sleep, to revitalize the body, and dreaming that recharges the mind. Impairment from lack of sleep happens when you have beyond 16 hours awake, which is equal to the legal limit of alcohol. How crazy is that? Sleep deprivation radically impairs performance. People make up to 10 times more mistakes when they are tired. Tiredness is the cause of a third of workplace accidents. 1 out of 5 medical interns has made a mistake that has harmed a patient. 1 out of 20 medical interns has made a mistake that has resulted in the death of a patient. 1 in 20, not good odds for coming out of the hospital alive. So this is because they are required to work 100 plus hours per week with often 24-hour shifts, right? That is not good. So the largest sleep study for the last 20-ish years came out of Philadelphia, where 5 volunteers lived for 16 days, where they experienced 4 hours of sleep less per night to see the risk of less sleep. One of the initial signs of sleep deprivation is cognitive slowing. So finishing sentences is one of the first things to go. Interesting, right? So the brain grabs a quick nap of 5 to 10 seconds. They call those micro sleep to try and recharge. And they're not so noticeable, but obviously extremely dangerous if maybe you're behind the wheel or something like that. So let's look at the possible issues or behaviors that can cause periodic sleeplessness. So when you're trying to deal with sleep challenges, right, we want to lay the groundwork here to see, maybe you're thinking, I sleep fine. I don't sleep enough, but maybe I sleep fine. But here are different things that can affect our sleep. So you need to examine your personal and medical history to see when the problem started, and therefore start to hone in on underlying reasons why you might be having some symptoms here. So caffeine during the day, too much or any, right? Some people can't take any. Caffeine stimulates the nervous system. Remember, it's not just coffee or energy drinks. It includes chocolate, non-herbal teas, kombucha, pain medications. Medication, negative side effects, of course. Some of those negative side effects can be sleeplessness, hormone imbalances, stress, for fear and or anxiety, thyroid or adrenal dysfunction, right? You're tired during the day, but then you can't sleep at night. That's when those are flipped right there and they're exhausted. Jet lag or travel schedule, a lack of physical exercise. And did you know that sleep experts say it is the first line of what the first line of defense to sleeping better is? It is to physically exhaust yourself by exercising, right? Which also, of course, helps many other organ systems. So also lack of mental exercise, certainly trauma, relationship conflicts, genetics, right? We actually inherit sleep patterns and sleep needs, just as we may inherit hair color, or shape of our ears or our voice. So you may need more or less sleep. And an example of this is narcolepsy, right? 1 in 2,000 have it. And by genetic testing, you can tell that. So a lack of sleep discipline is another possible cause for periodic sleeplessness, right? As well as noise disruption of sleep. Our tolerance for sound is what makes us a light or heavy sleeper. Like I've worn earplugs every single night for the last at least 35 years. And I live in the country where it's like quiet. But if I get woken up, like my brain just starts going. So if I can stay asleep by not being woke up by a dog or a cat barfing or something like that, then I can stay in my sleep. And then, of course, poor food or drink choices. People think that alcohol actually relaxes them. And when you increase that consumption, you're thinking, oh, it actually relaxes me, helps me go to sleep. But the last 2/3 of the night become disrupted sleep, which means you're not getting into that deep restorative REM sleep. So as we age, we have changes in our metabolism. That means we don't break things down. We don't process the way we used to. And this is most often seen in regards not to just digestion, but to the effects of medication, caffeine, alcohol, right? Well, I used to be able to do that. So you don't even count it as something that might be causing issues now. But this will produce an increased sensitivity to sedatives or other medications. So dosages become very important, and side effects that you didn't have previously while on a medication or taking certain food or drink in can sneak up on you, and you don't attribute them to those things because you've done that for years. Okay. So always want to be looking at all things in our lives, because our hormone changes, all things can change everything for us. So how about our youth and maybe cell phones or electronic uses? Because between 11 to 13 years of age, growth hormones change the sleep hormones. So teenagers need 9 hours of sleep per night. That's a minimum. 1 out of 3 teens suffer from sleep challenges and sleeps less than 7 hours per night. That's two whole hours less than the minimum that they need. So choosing to play video games, watching TV, texting, doing other things, anything else other than going to sleep is a very easy habit to develop. And whether you're a teenager listening to this or you're an adult, we could all agree that easy to do that. So these distractions on top of the lack of discipline and or desire to get to bed at a regular time compounds the sleep deprivation. So not to mention the EMFs for the devices that are messing with the nervous system. All of these things are stressors in our bodies. So no part of our society has lost more sleep than our children. And they lose an average of 10 minutes per night per year over the last 20 years. So they have become much more hyper aroused, which means you get lots of misdiagnoses of ADD and ADHD because they're sleep deprived and can't hold attention. So what? They get prescribed drugs and they keep them up even more, right? Crazy cycle there. So people who regularly have an upside down sleep life, think about that, like shift workers, people that travel a lot for business, crossing time zones a lot, people who have actual sleep disorders, right, are far from the only ones affected by circadian disruptions. Just staying up late watching TV or working on your computer or surfing your net on your phone, iPad will also have similarly detrimental effects. So the blue light emitted by screen technology very effectively inhibits our melatonin production, making it difficult to fall asleep and stay asleep through the night. Okay, that's where, you know, a good pair or 3 pairs, I have at least rolling around wherever I am, to put those actually on blue light blocking glasses. On top of that, those EMF fields from all these different technologies have significant effect on our sleep, negative effect. So a couple things that I always do, I always keep the night shift light on my screen phone. So people always say, why is your phone on your screen look yellow? It's because I always have the night shift on. It is better on the eyes than the blue light and doesn't have the same negative effect on your brain's sleep centers. And then when I'm on my computer and things, I use blue light blocking glasses. I have EMF deflectors on my phone and a pad for my computer, all to limit EMFs and damaging light, because I want that melatonin production. Melatonin is what helps us get into that deep REM sleep. And I want to make sure that my body produces all it can, because our modern day life comes with consequences. So do what you need to do to protect yourself for those, because your health is worth it. You are worth it regardless of the cost. And these things are not expensive to do or literally just toggle, right? So make sure that you're doing those things. Now, why does our body love sleep? 4 stages of sleep. Falling asleep, which can take up to 20 minutes. And we don't remember it because we have a 5 to 7 minute of amnesia before falling asleep. Isn't that crazy? Number 2, light sleep is that first 20 to 30 minute period when we're falling asleep and get in there. Then we get into the next 30 to 40 minutes for our deep sleep. And this is difficult to arouse out of, right? So if you know, maybe your spouse or your kid, like they've only been asleep for like 20 minutes and they're like harder to wake up than they would be 3 hours in, right? That is why. That is when it gets into our delta sleep. And then that dream sleep is just a few minutes actually. And that's just about the last 30 minutes at the end of the night. That's our deep REM sleep. So recently, Harvard Medical School showed how important dreaming is to us. Dreaming allows us to tap into an area of the brain that is not available to us when we're awake. Interesting, right? So the significance, we dream to consolidate our memories. And when we cut back on our dream sleep, our memory suffers. So if we don't get to dream, our brain will push that into our waking mode and you'll start actually hallucinating, right? Isn't that crazy? Because we think where in the world did that come from? And the brain's just like, I haven't had time to file it because you don't give me enough sleep. So I'm just going to push it out into your active memory. Now, sometimes when you are getting into that deep sleep and maybe are new to using certain essential oils to help relax, sometimes you can get some strange dreams, right? Or there's dream catchers. Sometimes we hear that with our blend rutavala. But that is because they are working on our emotional centers at the emotional level. So like we say, whether you're ingesting vitality oils, putting oils on the bottom of your feet, anything that you want to start low and slow with your essential oil usage until you find your sweet spot for you, right? That includes your sweet oil or oils, whether that's a blend or a single as you're working to help support your body in that. Now you can see in stage 3 here where hormones are released, right? You see that hormones are released, even slower brain waves. Brain is active dreaming. That is where hormones are released. A case study on a flight attendant that couldn't get pregnant. Listen to this. After keeping 2 watches on her, one for her home GMT time zone and one where she was in, she would be sure to sleep midnight to 4 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, right? Because that's that stage 3 right there. She could nap other times, but those 4 hours were sacred regardless of where she was. So that helped synchronize and stabilize her hormone secretion cycle. And she was able to get pregnant after 2 months of doing that. So that's just regulating sleep. Okay. So that's how important it is for our bodies. So I also want to mention sleep apnea, right? It is considered a medical sleep disorder, which means it can't be treated by simply following a good sleep hygiene, right? Or going to bed at a consistent time. It is a physiological reaction, which can be caused by a few different things, but that causes the brain to not be able to sleep and breathe at the same time. So it wakes you up to breathe. All right. So if you or your spouse is dealing or suspicious that this is happening, right, go get a sleep study done so you know what you're dealing with, right? Knowledge is power in dealing with this. And maybe you need a CPAP machine temporarily or something like that, but you need to know what's going on there. Being overweight can make this happen. But then that sleep deprivation can cause increased appetite and therefore make you eat more. The vicious cycle, right? Whenever sleep goes under 7 hours a night, the risk for obesity goes up. And when you decrease your sleep time, people tend to get heavier faster, based on a University of Chicago study. So again, vicious cycle that can be created. So please, if you need to go see someone, have a sleep study done, go do that. But we're also going to talk about some other things here to help just different parts of our body that could be hampering things or our habits. I'm sorry, I can't mute somebody that I hear's here and here. It's not muted. Stacey, you could help me with that. That'd be great. Thank you. Okay. Next slide. Thank you, dear. Healthy blood sugar maintenance. So when you are living against the clock as a way of life, many body functions can become imbalanced, and that includes our hunger hormones that get thrown off, and blood sugar regulation is screwed up and sets the stage for metabolic diseases, right? So too little sleep goes into decreased glucose, which increases the appetite and then increases weight gain. Leptin is a hormone there that tells our brain we are satisfied and not hungry anymore. And it decreases in our body with less sleep. So 3 years of like periodical night shift work can increase your risk for diabetes by 20%. And the risk continues to rise over time as you continue that way of life. So here are a few oils we're going to talk about. Omega Gies, right? Good essential fatty acids. Sleek Essence. Stress Away. That was supposed to be Vitality. Okay. Stress Away actually has vanillin in it, which helps support healthy leptin levels, right? Again, which tells us that we are satisfied. Also has ocotea in it, which helps support healthy blood sugar levels. And then cinnamon, which is also in thieves. Those Vitality are great supporters too. So make sure you're drinking lots of water with your Vitality oils throughout the day. You can diffuse these as well. We don't necessarily diffuse sleep essence just because it actually has some stevia in it, but a great one to have in your on the regular. Plus has a lot of great citrus oils in it, so good for the lymphatic system, which is always a bonus. All right, skin. Everybody's all worried about what they're putting on their face, what's being nipped and tucked and all the things, right? Let's just start with sleep. Let's just start there. Beauty sleep, man, we need it, right? So less sleep means more cortisol. Cortisol, also known as the death hormone, no good, increases wrinkles and sags. No bueno. An increase in stress hormones makes it harder for your skin to retain moisture. Wow. MSM, which is in our sulfurzyme, whether that's in the capsules or the powder, internally is super helpful, as well as topical. Our lotions, like the Genesis, has the purest emollients to moisturize the skin that are available to us without any toxins, no toxins, right? What we put in our body is the same as what we put on our body. Our skin's our largest organ. So if we're putting it on, it's getting in. So that's why we want to make sure. That's why I am so grateful for Gary for giving us what we call the young living lifestyle. It's not about, I'm just going to diffuse or I'm just going to use Thieves Household Cleaner in my house. Those are all great starts. But it is about a lifestyle to help with things that we can control, as well as products that are super helpful for our bodies, right? As well as ditching the hormone altering chemicals and things in our home. So we don't want to increase those, of course. Now, sleep is good. Yes, it is. Okay, let's talk about nutritional and immune support. It is stressful to the body to be under sleep deprivation. The research team in Philadelphia for that major sleep study showed that tiredness reduced the body's resistance to disease. So the immune system goes down, temperature regulation gets out of whack, right? That was just controlled by the thyroid. Blood vessels are restricted, which makes for poor circulation. And there are physiological consequences with sleep loss at a fundamental biological level. So the body behaves the same under sleep deprivation as under a viral attack, which is an immune defense response, right? And this is why a Finnish study found that people who hit that sweet spot of 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night had the fewest sick days. Interesting, right? So after 7 nights of sleep deprivation, you need 1 night to recoup, minimum, right? But the damage caused by the sleep deprivation, it can be reversible, but you have to sleep to do it. Like there's not a shortcut in there. You can even store a little bit of sleep to a certain extent. So a few extra hours before a trip where you are changing time zones can be very helpful for your immune support there. So when a person is plagued with sleep challenges, one of the first simple things we want to address is the body getting enough valuable nutrients, right? From our food, good food sources, a good food multivitamin, multimineral supplement like our master formula. Alcohol depletes the body of vitamins A, B1, B2, B12, choline, niacin, bunch of other B vitamins, magnesium, all of the things. Sleeping pills deplete A, C, D, and folate. Caffeine depletes B1, K, niacin, calcium, and biotin. We're talking calcium, biotin. We're talking bones. We're talking skin. We're talking hair. We're talking B vitamins, which are key for our thyroid and adrenals and energy. Nicotine and sedatives, they all suck vital nutrients out of our cells. We haven't even talked about like other, very specific medications. This is just kind of regular stuff that people often do, okay? So sleep deprivation leads to a number of diseases, and therefore we need to view sleep as indispensable and not disposable, right? Because we think, oh, we can get a little extra here and there. We can do different things like that, but not true. You'll see on this ImmuPro, which is a great product that we actually got for free a couple months ago, has melatonin in it. And as we age, we create less melatonin, right? So it's key that we have that. Plus, helps support the immune system. course, our nature red, so good for so many things, as well as the immune system. Juvatone, anything with Juva in there, stands for liver. Got to support the liver at all times. We'll talk about the liver here in a minute. Life 9, of course, our great probiotic. Mineral essence, man, minerals are sucked out of our body with not just low sleep, but other things that we do as well. So very key that we get that. Energy support. We are sleep deprived that we don't remember what it's like to be awake, right? And then we get hopped up on caffeine. So the beverage industry has certainly caught on to this for adults and kids alike, not sleeping. So they produce energy drinks with huge amounts of caffeine, right? So we deprive ourselves of sleep and then caffeinate ourselves. Caffeine is one of the only highly addictive ingredients we regularly give our kids. And back in 2015, the global sales of energy drinks amounted to some $38.2 billion, that's B with billion, in the US alone. And during that time, those caffeinated drinks had grown by 80% in 1 year alone. So coffee is the second highest trading commodity after oil being crude, not essential. And caffeine, like any stimulant, can trigger insomnia because it disrupts our sleep and our wake chemistry, which is another disruptor of normal sleep. And what does that create? It creates more stress. The cycle, man, continues. So how about picking up some of our great cognitive fitness nitro? Delicious. I've had at least one today, where you don't get the jitters. Has vitality oils of nutmeg, black pepper, right? All key for adrenal support. Peppermint, spearmint, along with the vanilla fruit, chocolate bean, and wolfberry seed oils. Has green tea extract, yerba mate, Korean ginseng root extract, and mulberry leaf extract with B vitamins. And it's folate for all you MTHFR gene mutation peeps like me. Yeah, integrate. So let me be very clear that there is no chemical or natural, for that matter, substitute for sleep. We think we can do all these other things, and you can get away with it for a little bit of time, but if it's any kind of long-term habit, there is no chemical or natural substitute for sleep. Sleep is the third key to good health: nutrition, exercise, and solid sleep to be healthy and effective. We can accomplish more in 2 hours when we're rested than we can in 3 hours when we're fatigued. So workplace productivity is at a $2 billion, also with the B, $2 billion a year loss with shift workers, right? We are designed to get 8 hours of sleep. All right. Have you ever had this conversation, right? That I'm like, okay, get to sleep. Let me sleep. And the brain says, no, let's stay awake and remember every stupid decision you've ever made in your life. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good plan. And so that can take hours, of course, right? Super crazy, but I don't know, it's true, right? It is true. And let's talk about the brain for a minute. Sleep occurs when the hormone melatonin tells the hypothalamus to turn on, which turns the brain off to the rest. That's what we need to do to get into that. But the switch can fail, so the thinking brain stays on. And sleep is then only possible when the thinking brain is exhausted. So we are slaves to the daily circadian rhythm, right? Which is programmed to be active during the day and sleep at night. And that internal clock in the brain controls the timing to go to sleep at night. So the pacemaker of the brain, right? We think of that only being for the heart, but the one for the brain controls a host of physiological cycles once every 24 hours. And again, those irregular bedtime, jet lag, things like that can really create dangerous environments for that. Let's look at something that I have really loved over the years and have really dug into years with my clients and found all sorts of interesting things when they'd say, oh, I always wake up at this certain time, or I always have pain during this certain time, or all different things. And when you look at this in Chinese medicine, this is called the Horary cycle. Horary, very hard to say, kind of the rural type thing. Horary, pertaining to or indicating the hours. In Chinese medicine, this cycle shows each meridian nerve pathway, which in turn has its associated organ system. and has a 2-hour period during which it is at its maximum energy, right? So if you're dealing with periods of sleep disruption, look at what time of the night you may be waking up. Let's start in the green there, the 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. up there, that's gallbladder. It's a period that directly correlates to the physiological process of sleep. Therefore, we should be sound asleep during this period. And if you are just getting into bed during these hours, and if you're reading, watching TV, struggling to fall asleep, this is not an efficient use of your time for that. The gallbladder meridian is responsible for this first part of the energy of the 24-hour cycle. So it is crucial for health and is highly vulnerable. So if you have gallbladder issues or something like that, and you're like, oh, I always go to sleep at 1 a.m., you are not giving your body what it needs to actually let the gallbladder do its job. And we must protect this organ and energy and allow it to grow through proper sleep. Now, 1 to 3 a.m. is the period when the liver is most active. So the liver and its corresponding meridian are responsible for stimulating new growth, further strengthening the energy released by the gallbladder. And the liver carries out its physiological functions of filtering toxins and producing blood during this time. So extensive clinical observation has shown that many patients who suffer from liver disease are fond of staying up late into the night, and therefore deprives the liver of adequate opportunity to complete its tasks, and over time leads to illness there. 3 to 5 a.m. is when the lungs are most active. And if you struggle with lung issues, it is critical that you are in your deep restorative sleep during this time. So if you have to back up and go to bed earlier and get up early, go to bed earlier and get up earlier, however you need to do that to get that in, it is key for you. 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. is when the large intestine is the most active, and it's important to begin the day during this time with a glass of warm or at least room temperature water on an empty stomach. And this is especially effective for people who suffer from any kind of chronic constipation, any digestive issues, right? So great to add our lemon vitality oil in there, help stimulate that. And the energy of the large intestine begins to grow stronger, and that water helps act as a catalyst to stimulate peristalsis, right? Which is how the body moves waste down the track, eliminating toxins from the body. So the toxins contained within our stool compose about 50% of the total toxins of our entire body. Key that we get them out, right? First thing in the morning. So 7 to 9 a.m. is the stomach period. We should take our breakfast during this time, thus making use of the abundant energy of the stomach. And breakfast should include some form of like animal-based protein, if you take that in, including eggs, right? We need protein in the morning for hormone production. Gary was very big on making sure that we knew that. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. is the time dominated by the spleen. And if you're like, oh, the spleen, I don't know much about the spleen or care maybe, but the spleen is responsible for assimilating and transportation of nutrients. Very key. This is the period of the day when brain activity is at its peak, 9 to 11 a.m., making it the first golden period of the day, which is ideal for work or study. However, this productivity and effectiveness is dependent upon having eaten a healthy breakfast, right? Which does not include Pop-Tart or Eggo or anything else like that. So the spleen processes and assimilates food digested by the stomach, okay? Then it converts it to the energy that drives our various mental and physical activities. So it's very key there. 11 to 1 is the time for the heart. So during this time, we actually should follow lunch in a perfect world, in a, I don't know, Spanish-speaking world, right? With a brief time of rest, a siesta. Like, there are reasons cultures develop these things. About a half hour of rest should be sufficient to help protect the heart energy. So if you are really looking to give yourself not just extra, but if you're needing extra heart support, that would be a wise thing to add into just part of your routine. Now, 1 to 3 p.m., this is the time of the small intestine. And during this time, the small intestine completes the absorption, right? That is where we do almost all of our absorption of our nutrients from our food in the small intestine. So that assimilation of nutrients from digested food matter. The bloodstream is now chock full of the nutritional building blocks. And so at this time, we should be drinking a glass of warmer room temp water or herbal tea in order to help dilute the blood and promote circulation. And this can help protect vessel walls from excessive strain of nutrient-rich blood. So that's a win. 3 to 5 p.m. is the second great period for concentration of the day. And this is when the urinary and bladder tract is most active. So the small intestine has completed all of its assimilation of nutrients and made them available for consumption by the brain, making it easier to carry out high concentration oriented tasks. And then the urinary tract is helping get rid of things. Now, 5 to 7 p.m., this is kidney time. So drinking another glass of warm water at this time assists the kidney in filtering toxins from the body. Great way to have a little K and B maybe in your water, helping prevent such issues as kidney stones and bladder infections, right? Because when things are being flushed out, we don't have things sticking in there and creating issues. Now, 7 to 9 p.m. is the time for the pericardium, right? This is the sac that surrounds the heart. And at this time of the day, the heart energy relaxes into an easy flow, bringing on the third golden period for work or study of the day. It is also an ideal time to go for an after dinner walk or get in some other form of exercise. Then certainly finish this off with another glass of water to maintain proper circulation that way. And then last, 9 to 11 p.m. This is called the triple warmer time, and we should slowly begin to draw to a close. TV, computer, cell phone should be winding down for the day to allow the mind time to settle into a state of rest. So it's a good time for pleasure reading, something happy, herbal tea, enjoying some light music, quiet meditation, good bath, anything like that. So when we think about maybe our hospital workers, our mail sorting facilities, gas station workers, truck drivers, world travelers, all those people that are living against the clock, taking this information, right, on how your body has innate times of function and restoration. You can see that when people are employed with this shift work, they can have disruption in, say, their digestive tract or heart function or their ability or inability to detox and flush toxins out of their body, or having endocrine disruptions, right? So many different things. So this is why I love learning this right here. So when something keeps cropping up at a certain time, man, you can look at that and go, what's supposed to be happening right now, right? Energetically in my body, and what am I either blocking or what do I need to give more attention to? It's one of my favorite, the anxious girl, right? Able to read that, able to jump to the worst conclusions in a single bound, right? Easy to do, right? And I had a lot of clients that would say, oh my gosh, once you start that habit of, I need to get sleep, I only have 5 more hours of sleep, I only have 4 more hours of sleep, then we are creating this extra life cycle of anxiousness going on right there. So crazy. And people can become anxious about waking up or not getting to sleep fast enough, thinking that, and I hear this a lot, I hardly sleep at all. But there were some studies done, and I use this to encourage you, if this sounds like somewhere that you've been or you've heard, the studies that wake you up multiple times per night and have you say whether you are asleep or not. Most people will say that they were awake, but the study that's like actually monitoring your brain waves shows that you were asleep. So all of us wake up 12 to 15 times a night, but don't remember it usually. So if you struggled with this, and maybe a good thing to have a sleep study done, right? That information can help release some of that anxious thinking that you're not sleeping at all, and therefore, help your brain rest into, I am getting sleep. So, let me rest with that. The less we sleep, the more we actually worry. And the more we worry, the less we sleep. Again, cyclical. So our technique to help is to put One technique, and that I use as well, is put a pen and index card, use sticky notes next to your bed. When you start to worry, like turn on a dim light, like salt lamp or something like that, write on the card to deal with it in the morning. Then your brain's not saying, don't forget this, don't forget this, don't forget this, right? The next day, set aside maybe an hour to have a worry session. Like write down the steps to deal with that problem on that card or that sticky note. Within a few weeks, the mind will start to understand that it will deal with that card in the morning, right? And allow you to get to sleep. Now, there's a sleep guy called, his name is actually Dr. Buddha, that's his name. And he talks about a sleep misperception syndrome. That is when, for some reason, people have the perception of being awake while in the light stages of sleep. So people with this issue gotta learn to stay in bed so that you can prolong this type of shallow sleeping right there, right? And get into that. And this can occur if someone has had to be alert all the time, like be on military watch or, you know, listening for a baby crying or different things like that. It's very key for that. So I love this quote because it's so true. The best bridge between despair and hope is a good night's sleep. And that's why you'll hear someone say, you just need a good night's sleep, right? After whether it's something traumatic or you've just been running on empty, you need a good night's sleep because, man, we don't make very good decisions, you know, or we get super stressed out when we have not had good sleep. And even if you're not feeling well, right? Two of the great products, and I don't know why this is so blurry, sorry about that, but two kits that Gary created, one's called Freedom Release and one's called Freedom Sleep. And we have found amazing results with these, with people that have a hard time sleeping from all sorts of situations in their past and their present. But it allows the body and the mind to actually rest and move on and emotionally be able to detox things. All right. Didn't make sure read. All right. Let's talk about some endocrine and hormone supportive products. PD8020. Not a fancy name. I mean, what is that? But it contains pregnenolone and DHEA, two substances produced naturally by our bodies, but that decline with age. And they are the precursor for the body's hormone production. And it also has an impact on mental acuity and memory, right? Because that is key for that. That DHEA is involved in maintaining the health of the cardiovascular and immune systems. So amazing product that we love. And any of our products are a handful that we have that have DHEA, which are the building blocks, like I said, of hormone production. The only thing I always want to tell people that if you have had in you or your immediate family, meaning your sister, your mother, something like that, a female cancer that was hormone related, then I wouldn't do a building block product that had DHEA in it. Okay, that's because your body or their body has been triggered that when it sees a building block, it builds this certain way, as opposed to the original pathway. Okay, so I just always want to give that disclaimer there. And I mean disclaimer, I mean like, let's tell you that, like, there are other things you can do. Okay. Now, you see that Progestins Plus, right? Endogize, Thyromin, all endocrine system, hormone support. That is key. You'll see up there, Clary Sage, Fluorescence, and then that Progestins Plus, Idaho Blue Spruce, and Endoflex, all hormone related. So maybe during your cycle or something, you might actually have periods of insomnia, different things like that. And that is because those hormones are working overtime. So use your things, use your reference guides and things and see what is that and how can I help support my body. So often that Progestins Plus is just key for that. And I know Dr. Purser has done some great teaching on that. All right, prioritizing good sleep is good self-love. We think, and I'm part of this, by the way, there's not enough hours of a day. That's a poverty mindset, by the way, that I've drilled in pretty hard and still working on. You know, if I can just get a little more done. Actually, I'm going to get more done if I get better and more sleep than less, right? So that is key to do. All right, so when we think about our insomnia support systems, look at all these different options here. Cedarwood, peace and calming, rutavala, valor, vetiver, valerian, lavender. Great things to diffuse, put on the bottom of your feet, rub it over your heart, drop on the top of your head, find what works best for you. Base of the big toe, very great for the brain spot. We love, love, love that. So there is, every time of day is good for some oil usage, right? So find what works for you. I made this thing out of different clock faces with oils because I was just like, I need any time of day. I need just to be grabbing some oil. All right, relaxation techniques. Yeah, like yoga and meditation are 15% more effective than medication in the long run. How crazy is that? In one sleep study, a lady that did yoga before bed dramatically reduced her cortisol numbers and brought them into a normal range and dramatically increased her melatonin production just from doing yoga before bed, right? Exercise 6 hours before bedtime shows helping people get to sleep quicker and deeper, right? Because they're actually tired, like the body physically tired. A warm bath lowers your core body temp when you get out, so that helps do that as well. Turning off electronics, key, as we've talked about. Drinking some herbal tea, or certainly any of our vitality oils. Of course, our reflexology points with our essential oils, always helpful. Now, I love these things right here. Sleeplessness symptom support. Sleep Essence, again, another product, right? Like the ImmuPro that has melatonin in it, then also has rutavala vitality oil, which is amazing. SuperCal Plus. Calcium is key for helping our body get into sleep. So whether that's SuperCal Plus or MegaCal, that is key as well. Helps our body relax. And so that I take my SuperCal Plus at bedtime because of that. Again, melatonin can be disrupted by your menstrual cycle, right? So you may need to use these products just the week before or during your cycle, something like that, right? So listen to your body so that you need that. I always take melatonin, one of our melatonin products, while I'm traveling, certainly across time zones. So you have to help your body deal with that extra stressor. Now, change of sleep habits. You might need to do this. You may need to change what your bedroom looks like, as you should feel like you are entering a tranquil, peaceful sanctuary, right? So by leaving activities such as watching TV or eating or working out of the bedroom, like you're telling your mind it is time to go to sleep. So I've never ever had a TV in the bedroom. I want to go in there, it's time to sleep. And you're leaving those other activities. You want it dark enough for melatonin release, right? You want the right temperature for you. Ideally, it's normally between 60 and 68. Limited bodies in bed, and you got a bunch of cats on the bed, or however that goes. It just disrupts our sleep, right? Rarely theirs, by the way. No eating in bed, quiet. Again, like I wear earplugs every night, no EMFs. Bedroom being as clutter-free as possible is helpful for your brain. So remember also that there are no quick fixes for sleep struggles, as the body needs about 2 weeks to acclimate to a major sleep pattern change. So don't give up, but set a rigid awake time, 7 days a week, 52 days, 52 weeks a year, to get that sleep you need. And you might have to be really rigid initially while you are trying to set the habits. So when we're talking about a nutritional, adding some nutritionals in, say 90 days, man, let the body take that in, and then we'll reevaluate. So even 2 weeks is a good time, but it might take 90 days. So know that when you are doing that you are actually helping your body and teaching yourself how to do that. So bedtime support, decrease your stress, increase your melatonin production. What is that? That is light outside during the day to increase the production. And then at nighttime, when it's dark, that's when the body releases it, right? So we got to work on the centers of the brain that need support while you sleep. So these are my favorite, and I don't know why cedarwood is like flipped backwards. That's super weird. But these are some of my favorite ones to diffuse at bedtime, because our senses don't shut off when we go to sleep, right? They are extremely aware of light, temperature, sound, and scent. Okay, so every one of these senses affects whether we feel peaceful or agitated. So I want you guys to learn what your body needs. Try to find different things that might be inhibiting if you're having any sleep issues. But if you talk to anybody, sleep is one of the key things that people even come to Young Living for help support with. So hope this was super helpful for you guys. I think I took almost every bit of that. And I know we have the great Jill Sager coming, so I'm super proud of them. That was it.